Hi, my name's Kevin Dohrmann. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and one of the founders of Cosentry. We're a 15-year-old data center services, managed services company located in the Midwest. And our facilities, we have 8. They're in 4 different cities, in St. Louis, Lenexa, Kansas, Omaha, Nebraska, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Our primary business objective for a long time has been helping businesses with solutions to solve problems that they have in their day-to-day business operations. And one of the key things in today's world is disaster recovery and maintaining uptime for those businesses. A couple things organizations can do to maximize their ability to recover from a disaster is really thinking about what are the business requirements. In today's world, you have to be up all the time, but what specific applications have to be up all the time, and for what period of time could they be offline or in a state that's not completely up. So you have to think about what those requirements might be relative to your business. If your business is done mostly during the daytime and it's a retail-oriented store, it might not have to be up at midnight. On the other hand, if it's an online situation where your business is worldwide, you can never be down. So disaster recovery and business resilience become a critical part of the day-to-day operations of your business. Some of the things you can do to maintain that uptime are to do a lot of planning, to understand what the impacts might be of various components within your business, and to write a plan, communicate it with the business leaders so that they understand what those requirements, so that you understand as the disaster recovery planner and the IT organization understand what those business requirements are. As you move through the planning process, creating the individual components by facility that are required to keep that business up and running is very important. One of the reasons we like to look at disaster recovery by facility is that disasters don't normally happen across a nice business line. So you don't have maybe HR affected by a disaster. You'll have a building where HR, finance, operations are all located. So as the building, if you think of the way that facility might work and the components required to keep your business up and running, it's very important to think about all the different components. So in the plan, you have to consider by facility, by location, how to recover from those disasters. A couple more things about a successful disaster recovery strategy are that the documentation for the process for recovering from a disaster has to be clear and available. So if you think about your building being destroyed, if your plans are on paper and in that building, it's going to be very difficult for you to read those plans and go through the exercise of recovering from your disaster. So keeping the plans current, keeping them documented in electronic fashion in a remote facility from where the facility you're trying to recover are very important. Having access to those documents during the disaster also is very important. So having an ability to get to those documents electronically through mobile devices or through other computing devices is a very important process. One other thing that we find extremely important as companies are recovering from a disaster is the fact that they've practiced. And by say practice, I don't mean destroy your building, but I mean, work through an exercise of a tabletop exercise, which basically is sitting around a table and discussing what you'd have to do in the case of a particular kind of disaster, all the way to actually doing what's called a disaster recovery test or an exercise. I think the reason that we call them exercises, or the business calls it exercises, is the objective with the disaster recovery exercise is that you would improve every time. So as you maybe do your first push-up, you might not be that good at it, but if you practiced 1,000 times, you'll get really good at doing push-ups. The same thing with disaster recovery exercises.